Hello everybody, it's Alex Goddard here, and I'm back with my Doctor Who Series 11 overview. It's been a very interesting series of Doctor Who this year. Jodie Whittaker's first series as the Doctor has been amazing. She's been a joy to watch, as well as her friends joining her on some incredible adventures. Today, I'll be looking back on every episode of Series 11, giving my final thoughts. Then I'll be discussing about the characters, the plot lines, the writing, the direction, and the quality of the show. I'll be talking about how they can improve for Series 12 of Doctor Who, and finally I'll ask the most important question at the end: has Doctor Who Series 11 been a success? Let me know in the comment section down below what are your final thoughts on Series 11. And so without further ado, let's get straight into my Doctor Who Series 11 overview. And so we start at the very beginning of Series 11. We have episode 1, The Woman Who Fell to Earth. A brand new, refreshing, exciting and challenging start for not only the Doctor, but for us too. How were we going to respond to her? How was her performance? Yet still recovering, rebooting, regenerating. I was glued to the screen. I was intrigued with excitement. This episode felt so warm and comfortable, knowing we were judging Jodie Whittaker and her friends, and the overall look and feeling of the show. The direction was spot on. There was a brilliant focus on not only Jodie's traumatic post-regeneration experience, but also a great understanding of these other characters: Graham, Ryan, Yaz and Grace. Every one of them felt important. Intelligence was there. Although they were confused at first, they were fantastic helping out the Doctor and just enjoying themselves, especially Grace, who sadly died in this episode, who then later on returns. She had a joy of getting involved, knowing what she might do, might kill her. I loved the confrontation between Graham and Ryan. There was an interesting family bond which helped all the characters to feel like they know each other just from that one meeting. Ryan, I thought, had a great performance. We learned so much behind his losses of family and his struggles of coordination, which helped him to move forward with his life. The music from Sugun Akinola was excellent. Brilliant sounds of creepiness, seriousness and happiness throughout the whole episode. The whole plotline was executed really nicely. Felt like your typical episode 1, but with a few twists. The suspense and adrenaline was really good, building through some great moments of surprises and scares. Tim Shaw of the Stenza was an intriguing villain, an awesome design, and the constructive objective of finding a certain human being, which was randomly selected for being held as a trophy for Tim Shaw to gain promotion on his planet to become leader of the Stenza. He had help from a gathering coil of information, which made his objective more easily than expected. We watched the Doctor create her new son screwdriver, which was amazing. The crane scenes were brilliant, being petrified of heights and yet having the guts to jump off a crane and to have a groundbreaking one-on-one battle with Tim Shaw was just outstanding. Graham's secret reveals that the fact that he had cancer, and to see the journey that he goes on to have is just extraordinary. The ending scene of the Doctor coming out of her costume design was like saying to myself, she is the Doctor. Echoes of who she was and a distant call of who she's going to be. Dash of outrage, hints of panic, but brim with confidence. She is the Doctor. I give The Woman Who Fell to Earth a 10 out of 10. Next up, we have episode 2, The Ghost Monument. Now, on the backstroke of last episode, we saw the Doctor and her friends stranded in space, left on a cliffhanger. This episode sees 2 bounty hunters or space scavengers racing against each other in the Rally of the 7 Galaxies to claim the ultimate prize, or immortality, safety for themselves and their families. The loser earns nothing and is stranded on the planet called Desolation, which has been adapted by scientists to kill and annihilate intruders by making the water poisonous, killer plants, sniper bots, clock creatures, which acted like snakes or pythons, wrapping their prey until they suffocated. This episode had some really good performances from the cast and a few guest stars as well, in the form of Epso and Armstrong. They had quite a significant amount of backstory, which helped us realise that we saw might have been a couple of heartless, menacing bounty hunters. Then at the end of the race, they split the prize because they built up great chemistry together. Each had their own motives to win the race, but still had a defining way to help each other out. and as well as helping out the Doctor and her friends. The plot of the story was really strong throughout. The direction of action was really nice, especially in the first 5 minutes of the episode where the ships were about to crash land into the planet, and the setting of the episode looked amazing. Really deserted landscape, and yet feels hostile. We also had a few shocking references which led to some plot hole theories, mentioning the Stenza, who forced scientists to create new waves of destruction. The Remnants, also known as the snake cloth creatures, pointed out a theory of the timeless child. Somewhere in the Doctor's mind, they can see everything, even if the Doctor has hidden it away from herself. I mentioned my theory in my live stream review of the Ghost Monument by saying that I can't be Susan, this timeless child. Maybe this was a callback to the Doctor's childhood, way before William Hartnell. Something must have happened in the Doctor's past as a younger child version of the Doctor, and these creatures have picked up on it and exploited it to scare the Doctor. It's a shame they didn't use this as a Series 11 arc, because it built itself so well. We could have learned something new about the Doctor. Other than that, I really liked the intensity and the overall adventure of the story. Ryan's Call of Duty scene was very childish but hilarious. Graham had some good stuff with Ryan with the early departure of Grace. The writing was very good from Chris Chibnall as he started to find his own way as a showrunner. The new title sequence along with the new Doctor Who theme tune was just outstanding, honouring the classic series but with a modern twist. And finally, it was a superb performance from Jodie Whittaker as we saw what might have been the best Doctor and TARDIS moment ever. There was that sense of belonging which reunited with the lonely Doctor. Come to Daddy, Mummy. The TARDIS interior looked stunning, as it was quite a controversial decision going with the organic look instead of the steel type mechanical design like Paladis. You've redecorated! I really like it. Custard cream dispenser was a nice touch, as well as the glass spinning TARDIS, and overall I very much enjoyed this episode. I give the Ghost Monument a 9 out of 10. Next up we have episode 3. Rosa, our first historical episode of the series, and what an absolute belter of an episode it was. I am going to come out and say this. This is by far the best historical episode of the new series. This episode tackles an important event for all blacks in 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama. Rosa Parks, a phenomenal character who refused to give up her seat to a white passenger and was arrested for it, which then started a revolt against the bus companies, stood up for themselves in response to Rosa's arrest to promote and relinquish segregation on buses the next year, and soon became a living icon for freedom. This episode was daring and risky to go down this route in the context of a pure historical, discovering what life was like and how racial segregation was like back then. We saw many traits of racism throughout the episode, especially moments with Ryan and Yaz, who were significantly affected by the abuse. Ryan in particular was being polite towards a white woman and then got slammed down by her husband, which triggered Ryan's temper. This episode was a learning curve for Ryan, as it helped him realise that the different times you have to act in different ways, and he met Martin Luther King. Honestly, in my opinion, Martin Luther King was my number one pick. If I could bring back a historical figure to Doctor Who, it would be him. I'm so happy to see him in an episode. Didn't do much, but his presence was more than enough. The Doctor and the companions were stupendous. Everyone had a duty, a role, to keep history in place, guarding history away from Crossco. He was malicious, cunning, intelligent, and very sneaky throughout. We all knew he was the cause of trouble. However, we learned more about the whole time of him being at Storm Cage prison, paying for his crimes, and he was implanted with a neutral restrictor which prevented him from hurting or killing anyone if he wanted to. The Doctor had some amazing moments, not only against Krasko, Rosa Parks, but also understanding everyone's strengths and potentials from the companions, which shows their bonding with each other. It was like the Doctor gave an in-depth history lesson from this one episode, like with every other historical episode does, but this is far better. I'm honestly so speechless of how beautiful they've made this episode. The scenery was perfect, fitted the whole feeling of the time back then. The music was awe-inspiring, had elements of the history and culture, as well as the sneaky and creepy soundtracks of Krasko, and the song at the very end. Wow, I cried. Probably the best bit of historical drama that I've seen in Doctor Who. The song Rise Up was an influence towards other black civilians to rise up against the abuse and carry on the fight. The expressions on Graham's, Ryan's, Yaz's and the Doctor's faces were priceless. Watching real historical events, just standing and staring at Rosa's arrest. It's beautiful acting from everyone. The direction was excellent. The writing from Chris Chibnall and Mariel Blackman was exquisite. Rosa Parks was wonderful, terrific American accents, and there were some hilarious one-liners which injected some humour to lighten up the episode as well as giving the audience an emotional, dramatic ending. For me, this beats The Unquiet Dead, The Shakespeare Code, The Unicorn and the Wasp, Robots of Sherwood, Victory of the Daleks, and many more. This is the best historical episode of the new series, and yes, I'm definitely giving Rosa a 10 out of 10. Coming up next, we have episode 4, Arachnids in the UK. Now, who's afraid of deadly vicious spiders? Well, this episode has got it all. Cobwebs, terrifying spiders, a base under siege setting, and a Donald Trump-like character. This episode sees the Doctor and her friends returning to Sheffield after only gone for half an hour since they left the warehouse in episode 1. That's time travel for you. I love the beginning of the episode, looking on towards the large hotel, watching the camera moving in sync along the ground relates to the point of view of spiders. Very, very creepy soundtracks by Sir Gunnar Canola, building to the sinister and spine-chilling feeling. I love the gigantic spiders. I don't have a fear of them, but I feel sorry for others who had phobias of spiders while watching the episode. They carried an actual deadly threat, capturing humans and storing them as foods. The cobwebs surrounded the episode in every scene. Every room there was tons of cobwebs, creating an atmospheric and peer-pressuring atmosphere. It screams out base under siege, which I'm a huge fan of. Trapped inside, sealed away in one place, completely isolated with a monster on the hunt. I was very impressed. Moments like where the spiders broke out of the bathtub, the spiders crawling in swarms across the hotel, and the biggest spider I've ever seen. Oh my days, I've never been more frightened by spiders in my life. And arachnophobia is one of the worst fears ever, and I would imagine people not enjoying this episode because it was too much for them. We saw Yaz's family, and the Doctor felt depressed that she didn't want to leave them in such sadness, and so Yaz had to say that would you like to come over for tea at mine, and the Doctor's immediate response was definitely having tea at Yaz's was just hilarious. Her family was alright. I hated her sister, she was too sassy for me. Her dad was better, with good chemistry with Yaz, although Nadia, her mum, I didn't really like. She butted in too many times, in like she had to kill the intensity and ask unnecessary questions. Ryan's performance was great as always. I loved his added feature of luring the spiders into the panic room by playing Stormzy on Grime Station. I freaking love it. The rap music in Doctor Who has never been done before. It serves its purpose, and it was a nice touch in terms of the episode being frightening, atmospheric and creepy. We had some amazing emotional acting from Graham, coping with the grief, his loss of missing Grace, and it really affects him deeply. He can't control his emotions when he's standing in the house on his own. I loved the short flashback memories of Grace, reminding me of what's more important than grieving. We also have an idiotic arsehole who hates Trump and is planning to become president, Jack Robertson. He lacks responsibility, he acts like a provoked and sickening dictator. He owns the hotel and 15 others around the world as his multi-million-pound company. What he doesn't realise is that a particular rubbish disposal organisation dumps landfill beneath his hotel, making it toxic and hostile for humans to breathe, but it helps the spiders to mutate and grow to new heights and has potential to kill humans. As these spiders grow, their bodies, their brains grow, and their lifespan Jade, another character similar to Osgood in Series 9, she was doing experiments on research on spiders' behaviours and their brain patterns, which then led to the waste being dumped in landfill, which explains the mutant spiders, cobwebs and abnormal behaviours of the spiders. I really enjoyed this episode. Again, it had amazing creepy and arachnophobia moments. Some really touching family scenes, especially with Graham, Ryan and Yaz, and their final scene in the TARDIS where they enter the TARDIS and explain why they want more Avengers with the Doctor. It used to be the Doctor persuaded the companions. This time around, it's the companions who are doing the persuading, and Graham's reason to travel to relieve the pressure and grief makes my heart warm. Just brilliant. I give Arachnids in the UK a 9 out of 10. It's been very strong and consistent so far, but now. Episode 5. The Saranja Conundrum. Where do I start? I don't know what Chris Chibnall was thinking at the time of writing this. I mean, I didn't hate the episode. It just felt bland. The best way that I can describe this episode would be, imagine this episode like a perfect cut of steak, cooking it to perfection. Unfortunately, this episode was just cooked too well done. Not a huge amount of flavour and just very boring. I was missing that juicy taste of excitement and anticipation. The interior of the Saranja, known as the ship, looks stunning and absolutely gorgeous. At the start, the Doctor and her friends found a sonic mine on a junkyard planet and was taken to hospital on the Saranja, leaving the TARDIS. I wanted them to explore more of the junkyard planet, which would have made a more interesting plot hole. They were seriously injured, but then were successfully in recovery, apart from the Doctor suffering from more pain, and she acted so out of character towards everyone, very irresponsible, selfish, and she lost her temper, which I didn't like at all. She's supposed to be a doctor, helping people out. She wanted to turn the ship around, to go and look for her stranded TARDIS, risking the lives of other patients. Isn't that the job of being a doctor? There was some good tension between Astro and the Doctor while they were working together to sort out the problem of an intruding pest called the Bating. What kind of name is that? The Bating as the monster of the week. Come on! Really? I mean, I'm very disappointed in that. It's like Monsters Inc. meets Doctor Who. Perhaps it could attract younger viewers, but younger viewers enjoy Doctor Who more often when they're scared. I wasn't scared. This episode lacked pace, lacked excitement, lacked energy, which was the one thing the Bating wanted. The cast were good, not brilliant. The thing is, they shadowed Graham and Ryan out for most of the story, leaving Yaz in the spotlight, which was good, but hey, do you remember me? I'm still here, giving us the chance to like Yaz, and when we want action or something else, the guest stars were alright, nothing too special to offer. There were some unnecessary family scenes with Ryan, like when he spoke about his dad and his mum. It just felt out of context, like it didn't need to be there to inject some family relationship scenes. The direction was way off, cutting the scenes where they were starting to get going and then all of a sudden the intensity is gone because of a pregnant man giving birth. Yeah, the music was fantastic, just needed to be reordering. I don't think I need to explain a lot about the plot because I was already bored at this point. The Doctor saved the day by getting everyone to Rhesus 1 and defeated the Bating while Graham and Ryan watched the man giving birth. It was funny at times, but it just felt weird and confusing. I'm sorry, but this episode went completely downhill. Probably the worst of the series. It could do so much better. It needed a better monster, a new intriguing plot, and make the characters feel valued. Lots of mistakes, needs improvement, but overall, wasn't great, but still average. I give the Saranja Conundrum a 5 out of 10. Halfway through now. Next up, episode 6, The Demons of the Punjab. This episode was unlike Rosa. It had a different tone, a different culture, the partition of India, separating Pakistan and India, Muslims and Hindus. This episode explored Yaz's family's secret behind her nanny's life, and how she was the first woman to be married in Pakistan. Prem and Umbrin were planning on to get married, however a happy marriage turns into a living nightmare. A heated family feud, Prem's younger brother Manish turning away from his brother and believing what is right for his country. The setting of India looks gorgeous. I love the look of India. It just looked amazing, and I loved the amazing twist on the music relating to the Indian culture. The partition of India was something I never knew of. I found it fascinating on how this particular family are caught up in the Spitfire with marriage and separation, and why are these demons here? Also, this is the first episode in the series to not have been written by Chris Chibnall. Vinay Patel, a great writer with great understanding and interest of India's history. I thought the side characters were really good, great signs of emotion, depression and panic. It felt like that the demons were made to look and act like the villain, but then we found out that these demons, these Targaryens, are not assassins. They don't kill. Although they plan to look devious, and it's an awesome design, by the way. These demons worship the abandoned dead. They witness death across time and space, worshipping the dead because they can't honour their own race. The planet was destroyed and gave them a new mission, to bear witness and to honour those who have died. They've even targeted who's going to die next, as we all know it's Prem. I love the way how they were transmitted from outside into the demon's lair using some fantastic special VFX effects. And I love how Prem said, "What's your demon tracker saying? Lights on screwdriver is now set to hunt down demons." There was some light entertainment from Ryan and Graham which made me chuckle, which is always an added bonus to a historical. The episode was mainly focused on Yaz and how she approached her ancestors, treading on soft family soil and having a perception filter on what she knows of her history. And it was a very strong performance from her, as we needed more from her, because I feel like that she is still the weakest companion out of the three. And to be fair, she has been good, but not amazing like Ryan and Graham. Graham was unbelievable in this episode, especially speaking with Yaz about wanting to know everything about her family's history. The way he said it, speaking out his realistic point of view, living life towards the viewer, helps us to centre ourselves about our worries. Look at us. Look at the things we're doing with the doc. I love him. Using the word doc is so northern, and it's Graham's presence in every episode makes him a better person than who he was. I adore the attention to detail with the poppies and the plotline of the story being about honouring the dead in reference to Remembrance Day, which this episode aired on the 11th of November, which made the whole episode to feel truly special. The direction was spot on, keeping history in place. This is unlike any other Doctor Who episode where history and timelines are changed, causing paradoxes and time interferences leading to disastrous consequences. This series has proven that the rules of time travels, that you can't rewrite history, not one line, is being kept unbroken, which showcases the distress of watching people die as historical events take place. And to finish off this episode, I adored the Doctor's performance. She comes into her own, a personality which I can identify. She was nice, collected, thoughtful, restricting, protective, fierce, aggressive and cheerful. All those elements I felt from this episode. We saw the true 13th Doctor, and I was very impressed with her speech about love and her understanding of what's going on and what's eventually going to happen in the end. A beautiful episode, brilliant character development, an interesting plot with demons who worship the dead in respect of remembrance. I give the Demons of the Punjab a 9.5 out of 10. Coming up next, we have episode 7, Kerblam. If you want it, kerblam it. After quite an emotional and dramatic episode, this is what I needed. A pick-me-up story. This episode has got it all. It's got a really intriguing and shocking plotline with some great relatable characters, and it's got my favourite comedian of all time, the brilliant Lee Mack. I want to give him a special shout out because although he only lasted for about 15 minutes of the episode, he was superb. I know how seriously sarcastic he can be, but he was way better than that. While still having the comedy charm, he has elements of emotion, confidence, sensitivity, responsibility, which made him a more balanced character, and he can take risks and help others out when danger approaches, and I never saw this coming. We even saw him on a poster, and I can tell you what, I'm getting that poster for Christmas. The Doctor finally reunites with an old friend. The Fez is back. I mean, Smith's doctor might have ordered affairs probably got sent to the wrong doctor. Still looks good though on Jodie Whittaker. This episode sees the Doctor and her friends travelling through the time vortex where they are interrupted by the Kablam delivery bots, and they soon realise that someone needs help, so they go undercover and explore Kablam as normal workers. This episode is basically the space version of Amazon, but bigger. I've been fascinated by what happens inside Amazon, and it makes me wonder if Amazon, a couple of years' time, will soon become 90% automated with 10% people powered. This warehouse of Kablam is gigantic and works non-stop. However, something badly has happened to the system, and the Doctor and her friends are thrown into the investigation. There's some really great character development in this episode. Take Kira for example. At first, she's a normal worker, but the best bit is that you can spend 3 to 4 minutes developing this character who seems happy and cheerful to work and has a fantastic way of life. We all felt attracted to her, and suddenly she dies in this episode, and it has a huge impact on us as the viewer because we grew a bond with her. So that's what character development can do to impact a story. I thought Ryan had a great performance. This episode felt like he was back at work, and he felt very centered around the warehouse. He knows the layout and he knows what it's like to work in a warehouse for him because of his great experience. Yaz was also very good. The thing is that when the topic of family comes up, she gets straight into conversation about family matters, because what happens in previous episodes concerning family, she also gets involved with the disappearance of Lee Mack, the spooky and creepy atmosphere surrounding Yaz as she searches for Lee, and suddenly she feels isolated by the Kablam men, which gives the episode a mysterious and suspicious vibe, reminding me of a classic Doctor Who story, The Robots of Death. The plot of this episode is really fantastic and unique. The increasing disappearances and the cries for help are not from the workers, they're from the system. The system sent the message of help because there's danger in dispatch concerning Charlie, and Charlie is the problem. He's the one who has caused the system to go rogue, the maintenance man who has access to everything and is a genius in cybernetics, teleportation and explosives. Charlie knew what was going to happen to Kira, but unfortunately it was too late. There was nothing he could do. He forced the Kablam man to kidnap the workers and liquidize them to erode people's trust in automation. The teammates in Slade's office came for him because the system knew that it was under threat and was planning to target the customers and murder hundreds of people with deadly bubble wrap. An ingenious idea, and this particular bubble wrap contains tiny bombs which would explode when popped. Every parcel is a death trap, and Charlie was the threat. He was the protagonist. The Doctor was fabulous. We saw a different tone of her Doctor, her bombastic and vicious approach when speaking out, which showcased another level to her Doctor. The writing and direction was excellent, the characters were developed really well, and the plotline was unpredictable. It made us think who was behind all this, like a mystery, and it was really effective in the end. I give Kablam a 9.5 out of 10. Next up, we have episode 8, The Witchfinders, our final historical story of series 11, and I must confess that the historical episodes have been exquisite this year. I'm very impressed on how they have handled this episode with great attention to detail, a new threatening plotline, and the best performance from all of the guest stars that we've had for this series. King James I, played by Alan Cumming, as he would say, "I am God's chosen ruler and Satan's greatest foe," in the best camp accent ever. What a fabulous performance from King James. Very theatrical, dramatic, cunning, manipulative, and very naughty. He likes to tease and mock people, especially the Doctor, which was hilarious to watch. I love the sneaky reveal, the Master of Disguise. I also love the relationship between Ryan and King James. The dialogue and the acting from both of them was just wonderful to watch. They have humorous and cheeky moments together, showcasing their great trust. This episode begins with a witch trial in the early 17th century in Lancashire, Pennington Hill, which back then was known as Balho Crass, which held witchcraft dunking trials to seek out and hunt down Satan. The Doctor directly said, "Don't interfere." And what does she do? She interferes explicitly not to, in like the first 5 minutes. But then it does feel quite dark and quite tense and quite violent as Becca Savage continues her accusations and begins to search for more witch hunts to eliminate Satan and to purify the land as requested by her king. I love the setting, creating a gloomy, dull, dark, murky and spine-chilling atmosphere which builds up the fear factor. I really like Becca Savage as a character. She's very powerful and very decisive in her judgments. However, she keeps an important sequence which then gets revealed as she knocks down a tree and an alien race affected her, and it's been hard for her to resist taking over her. She later becomes the leader of the Morax, a fierce and bitter race which takes the life forms from corpses and turns them into zombies as her army. The Doctor learns that the Morax king and the race has been imprisoned on Pendleton Hill for war crimes. Becca was able to unlock the tree and release the Morax from the prison as she was infected. They plan to use King James to restore their king and will give them the ultimate power to kill everyone with rage and force. At this point, I felt really scared. Literally, I got goosebumps while watching this episode. An actual alien threat. I waited so long for some plot twists. It made the plotline more dangerous and more exciting. Soon after, the Morax king was sent back into the prison because the Doctor used the Duncan School material as anti-Morax weapons, and I loved the shout from King James, "Burn the witch!" There were some incredible scenes of action, mystery and emotion from all of the characters. The companions didn't have much to do as I would have liked them, but really I enjoyed their performances, and the Doctor was sensational from start to finish. She was quirky, she was polite and yet aggressive and forceful in a way, which I loved to bits, confronting Becca Savage. And one more thing, the speech that she gave to King James. It was like watching Peter Capaldi's speeches. I've missed that. The secrets of existence, her gain of knowledge, her sense of well-being reduced King James to tears, guilt and sorrow. Powerful stuff this was. I gave The Witchfinders a 9 out of 10. We're nearly there now. We have the penultimate episode, episode 9, It Takes You Away. Sounds more like a song title rather than an episode title, I must admit. That this episode had a more basic and generic synopsis, and I didn't like that at all. The Doctor, Ryan, Yaz and Graham discover an abandoned cottage in Norway 2018. A blind character called Hannah is desperate in need of help to find her long lost dad and to protect her from a monster in the Norwegian forest. Simple, plain and bland, which was just non-interesting for me. The deserted forest with a beautiful landscape whilst with a monstrous spine-chilling atmosphere was very, very, very good, but I just felt bored. Like, I've seen this before many times. A kid who's afraid not to go out because of a monster in the forest. I wasn't hooked, if you know what I mean. Then suddenly, this episode shifted from being dull to being completely compelling and captivating. Like, the mirror that wasn't a mirror turns out to be a portal leading to another distorted universe which looks dark and misty and eerie. Now I was hooked. The Doctor, Yaz and Graham stumbled across an alien scavenger called Ribbons of the Seven Stomachs. I liked him. He was very creepy and very mysterious. He had very little dialogue, which added to the weirdness of his trading ways. Speaking of weird, this episode was just bonkers. This episode had so many ambitious ideas. For example, the solid track, the anti-zone, the parallel universe. I was very confused at first. I needed 5 rewatches to get my head around this whole plot of the story. So basically, we have our world completely normal. Then we have this blackened and eerie setting known as the anti-zone, where the universe is under threat, containing unusual creatures like the flesh-eating moths. And then we have another world, which looks similar to the other world, but it's slightly different. A parallel universe, you can call it, using the same concept used in The Rise of the Cybermen and The Age of Steel. The anti-zone is to stop the real world and the parallel world from touching each other. This parallel world is very dangerous because something is corrupting the world from within. The Doctor said that the solid tract is a theory, a form of energy, a conscience. Our reality can't work with solid tract energy present. The basic ideas and the laws of time will just fall apart because the world is too incompatible with our world. They are basically on the solid tract plane, an existence where the solid tract can exist when many people arrive and the reality becomes very unstable and the solid tract collapses on itself. This conscious universe sounds like a trap to persuade others to stay while the world starts to decay. Wow! Ingenious idea! Crazy! Bonkers, but ingenious. This episode saw the return of Grace, who we saw tragically killed in episode 1, and it was so heartbreaking to watch Graham on how he could resist the temptation of Grace, a huge gap in his life, and it felt strange for her to be alive. I was very surprised and yet frightened by the upcoming consequences. There were some nice bits that I enjoyed. Reverse the polarity, John Pertwee reference. Great character development from Ryan and Hannah, two characters who didn't like each other at first, but soon came to trust each other in desperate times for help and guidance. And yet, the Doctor was sending everyone back through the portal. She comes across this blank space with a frog at the centre of all of it. Yes, a frog controlling the whole world. A bloody frog. Bloody Kermit the Frog. I was sadly disappointed by the results. But Jodie Whittaker's speech is just all-inspiring. I absolutely love Jodie Whittaker's Doctor. She always performs with heart and soul, and she was amazing, as well as with Graham, who stood out from the crowd. Ryan finally called Graham Grandad. It was so nice to see how much Ryan cares about Graham. Their family relationship is pretty much the whole series arc in a way, since there's a lot of detail. The start was weak, the middle was strong, and the ending was, I suppose, alright. I was gutted to have not seen the return of Omega in the chair instead of the frog. I would have completely understood why Omega would do that, because studying antimatter, that would have made more sense and would have pleased classic Who fans. And there wasn't a cliffhanger. No cliffhanger means there's nothing to look forward to the finale. If we got a cliffhanger, I would have rated this episode even higher than I was. But overall, I give this episode an 8 out of 10. We have made it to the finale. Episode 10, The Battle of Rance Cause as Colossus. The finale is always the most anticipating episode that we look forward to. And my expectations were sky high, and I was intrigued by what this episode offered. However, this is unlike any other finale. To be honest, it doesn't feel right as a finale. It just doesn't work. I give credit to this episode for what it did and for what it provided. I loved the setting of the battlefield up until the episode when we needed a war episode to really build up the panic and the danger and the tension of the story. It had explosions, it had dismantled ships that fell from great heights, it had flamethrowers. I was really impressed to see what they could do with this setting. I loved the CGI of the planets and the Yuks' shrine, which was a very peculiar structure. Speaking of the Yuks, I thought they were really good, building onto their creator's will and to do what they commands. The Yuks were a faith-driven dimensional race of engineers who built this building as their shrine. Although Tim Shaw has an idea of what he can use the shrine for, I think it was Andonian and Delph. Again, the ridiculous names have got to stop. Eventually it becomes really difficult trying to pronounce these words, these planets and these people's names like Paltraki, but I thought that the Shrugs had some really good performances. The Doctor and her team, gang, fam, whatever you like to call it, arrive on Paltraki's ship on the planet's surface, and they explored around the ship while the characters of Paltraki struggled to remember what has happened to his crew. Because what I don't get is who or what brainwashed Paltraki's mind, but why? Then we have the surprise return of Tim Shaw, the same Stenza warrior from episode 1. I mean, the team were all shocked by this, but Graham, though, had other plans on his mind. The conversation with Graham and the Doctor was just brilliant. If that is the same creature from Sheffield, Graham will kill it if he can. He would go to such extremes to get revenge and payback on Tim Shaw. I love how angry and infuriated he gets, showcasing Graham's domestic, violent and revengeful ideas. It's brilliant writing. Then later, Graham stands up to Tim Shaw face to face, and in confrontation was awesome. But I knew he wasn't going to kill him. He's the better man. And then when Ryan interrupts them, Graham shot him in the foot. Only just the foot. Just to shut him up. Don't tell the Doctor, she'll be livid. I love that bit. I love that scene. It was great. Then we see the fantastic family bond. Graham, Ryan, granddad, grandson. I personally think that this series was meant to have a series arc. I bet this relationship between Ryan and Graham was the series arc all along, because it's been heavily focused throughout the entire series. With Grace's death in episode 1, it affected them both in the same way, and it's been a long, interesting journey for both of them to realise that they're family. And that, I loved the scene where Ryan said, "I love you." It's so sweet and yet hilarious. Ryan had a good shout out to the Doctor. What happened to never do guns or never to do weapons, which threw us back to where Ryan acted irresponsible in the Ghost Monument shooting those robots. All the time the Doctor seems to set up a rule and then a few minutes later breaks them. There's no point to make rules up if you're going to break them. I thought Yaz was alright. I just think she's not as focused as Ryan and Graham are. She had some good moments with Paltraki as well as with the Doctor. It seems to me that Yaz always follows and sticks with the Doctor like the closest of friends, which I like that. Yaz would always be there even if the Doctor needs help. Graham's mission was to kill Tim Shaw, while the rest were all trying to find Paltraki's crew. It turns out that they're not dead. They were just held in stasis chambers as trophies, as hostages. I don't know, but we soon realised what Tim Shaw was doing, and he has an incredible one-on-one battle with the Doctor. His recall device was broken by the Doctor, which led him across the universe and banished him to the desolate planet for all eternity. The universe provided with help. The Yuks were used as a slave force to work for him as the creator. He carries the knowledge of the Stenzo race within him, paired with the abilities of the Yuks. They worked for him and his destructive purpose, revenge at the Doctor. Tim Shaw almost thanked the Doctor because since he failed his order, he didn't gain the title as leader, but then becomes a god, and it's all down to the Doctor's fault. Every fragment of scientific understanding of the Stenza has ever possessed, allied with the impossible power of the Ox. This shrine is the ultimate weapon, which he plans to use to destroy aligned planets, which could fracture the universe. He has the powers of a god, and I love the combination of the running scenes of the Doctor while Tim Shaw speaks out his ultimate goal. It's directed really well. The weapon is activated. The Stenza held people in stasis chambers as trophies, but that was never the goal. The ultimate goal was the whole civilizations. Doctor, you gave me my destiny. The Yuks and Tim Shaw stole 5 planets from their spiritual orbits and contained them in a biostructure which withstand high amounts of density. And they plan to target Earth because, let's face it, every villain in any finale would do that. Target the basic planet so we can get threatened by the drama and the suspense. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. If they tried to obtain another planet, they would crack a hole in space, and that's what the Yuks were doing. They were creating a rip in space and time and will cause planetary genocide. Tim Shaw plans to rewrite the laws of the universe with Stenza technology. With the gifts of the Yuks, they can create anything, and the planetary masses just couldn't exist at the same time. It's a very interesting plotline. I really love this plotline to bits because it's so complex and so interesting, in which the Doctor plans to send back the planets using the Yuks' thought power with the Doctor's TARDIS to help return the planets back to their spiritual orbits. For Tim Shaw, however, he's not locked away in the stasis chamber. How? Which is surprisingly easy for Graham and Ryan, just have to pick him up and then shove him in the stasis chamber. I kind of feel like I was let down because he should have killed more. He should have killed more people. There was more to this character. I actually do like that the life support system, and he's got along with that Darth Vader deep voice. I really enjoyed his performance, as well as the Doctor's performance. It's so wonderful to watch Jodie Whittaker. She's the joy of aspiration Doctor, which showcases the joy, the excitement, the anticipation of exploring and saving worlds when they need help. I do have issues with this finale though. There was many missed opportunities. It would have worked better if we had another part to delve more into the story. Tim Shaw was beaten way too easily. They need to make good use of the setting. Have a war battle. That would have been outstanding, but unfortunately, we were given what we're given, simple as, and it did well for itself. A strong plotline, brilliant character development with everyone, and a fantastic return for Tim Shaw, who we might see later on in the future. I honestly love Jodie's speech at the end of the episode. Very touching scene and symbolises who she really is. None of us for sure know what's out there. That's why we keep looking. Keep your faith. Travel hopefully. The universe will surprise you constantly. I give the Battle of Ranskoor as Kolos an 8.5 out of 10. Wow, that took a long time, didn't it? Time to rank all of them from worst to best. At number 10, The Saranja Conundrum. Number 9, It Takes You Away. Number 8, The Battle of Round Calls as Kolos. Number 7, The Ghost Monument. Number 6, Arachnids in the UK. Number 5, The Witchfinders. Number 4, Demons of the Punjab. Number 3, Kablam. And now the top 2, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, and at number 1, Rosa. The best of the series, in my personal opinion. Time to move on to the characters. Now, I have said a lot about all of the companions, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. I still think 3 companions is still too much. Yaz gets shifted away from the real drama because Graham and Ryan are so damn interesting with their family connection. It feels really unfair for her in this case. This series though has been wonderful in terms of great character developments. Chris Chibnall is just amazing when it comes to writing great character pieces. Graham for me is the best companion ever. You can hardly hate him. He's so likeable, relatable, hilarious, and his enjoyment travelling with the Doc is more than enough for me to say that Bradley Walsh is a legend. I truly adore him. It was a really good move to have him on Doctor Who as a companion. I'm so happy for him. Ryan at the beginning started very strong and positive. His coordination problems have been a struggle, but he kept fighting and enjoyed himself throughout the most difficult adventures, and built up the most loving and emotional relationship with his granddad. That family bond means so much in this series. It's been a joy to watch their development. Yaz loves to talk about family, and we've had 2 episodes exploring her family's history, which gave Yaz a bit more time to shine. But I just think it wasn't strong enough. It wasn't gripping enough for me to fully appreciate Yaz in this series. She's been great overall, but I want to see more of her next series. The guest stars have been outstanding this series. The best lineup of guest stars we've ever had. I'm not surprised why they wouldn't turn down a golden opportunity like this, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work on Doctor Who. The direction and the quality has just amazed me. To watch my favourite show in the best HD quality possible ticks all the boxes for me. It makes me more intrigued to rewatch those episodes every single time because the quality is just extraordinary and cinematic. The direction of action, mystery, plots and drama has been wonderful. Every episode just looks and feels so damn good because the direction is perfect. You couldn't have asked for a better job. The writing has been excellent from Chris Chibnall and the other guest writers. We've seen new, fresh and exciting ideas and storylines. I just hope that they can step it up for Series 12. We've seen the new and improved. Now it's time to go back and revisit old foes, returning characters and maybe 1 or 2 surprises. Chris Chibnall does feel like the weakest writer of his own show, and the reason why I say that is because he's done a superb job on character development. However, he can do a better job on plot development. Moffat was excellent on plot development, but weak with character development. The characters are all well and good, but if you haven't got a plot, you've got nothing. They haven't been terribly bad, but I know for a fact that Chris Chibnall can do better with his plot lines, his action, his mysteries, his impacts on storytelling. I want more balanced stories with equaling focusing on plot lines and characters. Also, I've got a problem with the sonic screwdriver, although I love the design and it's actually grown on me, this sonic screwdriver, which at first I just never actually thought that this sonic screwdriver would work, but it has actually grown on me. However, it's used way too much. It's used for the right reasons, but in terms of its popping up every single time in the episode, it's used so much, and I just think it's unnecessary for the Doctor to use it all the time. The music has been phenomenal. Really good work from the composer, Sugun Akinola. I can't wait what else he's got in store for us. The title sequence and the theme tune is proper Doctor Who style. I'm in love with it. It honours the classic series and adds a modern day twist to it to relate to modern viewers. And there was something that I did mention in 5 things that I'm most worried for Doctor Who Series 11, and that was sexist remarks in Series 11. And was there any? Hardly any sexist remarks, and I was so happy because the whole thing about the female Doctor, for me, I had a fear that there was going to be a lot of sexism involved, and I was like hoping like, God no, please do not let this happen. But throughout the whole series, it's not affected me at all. I'm very, very impressed of how they got away with it without saying anything offensive. Otherwise, this series would have been completely toxic, as fans would probably put it. The ratings have been outstanding, and it's been much better than for the last couple of series that we've had in terms of viewing ratings. They've shot up immensely, and it shows that many people are now interested to see what this new Doctor can provide and what she can do. And I'm really, really happy as a fan to watch my favourite show doing so well for itself in terms of viewing ratings, so I'm really happy about that. Now, the response from the Doctor Who community has been very controversial. Not everyone is impressed on how the series has gone. Over the last few weeks, the Doctor Who fandom has been very lively and, like I said, toxic, which is worrying for me. Ever since Jodie Whittaker was revealed as the Doctor, the whole fandom has just divided. You could say anything offensive, otherwise you get blamed for it so badly. Like for one comment you make on Doctor Who Series 11, even if it's positive or negative, people will still have a go at you and disrespect you for what you have as honest opinions about Series 11. It's wrong on so many levels. And if you want more information about how the fandom of Doctor Who has changed, then you've got to go and check out my friend Wingy Media. I've met him before. He's a brilliant guy with a brilliant channel, and he's done a video about the Doctor Who fandom. He never likes to make videos about them, but it was a very, very great video, and I highly recommend you go and check it out. The link will be in the description down below, so you could go and check it out. Anyway, we have come to the end of my overview of Doctor Who Series 11, but wait. It's time for the question that we've been waiting for. Has Doctor Who Series 11 been a success? Most definitely. If it didn't, then we would have said goodbye to Doctor Who already. No one wants to do that. It's been an incredible series. I've loved every single minute of it. The performances, from the characters, the storytelling, the writing, the direction, even down to the smallest of details. I'm speechless. This series has gone even better than I originally thought. Some fans may say it's been okay, it's been average, or just bad. That's alright. We all knew this series was going to divide opinions expressed by the Doctor Who fandom. I'm overwhelmed by the response, positive or negative. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and I might be very positive about this series, but that's who I am. I'm always positive. Even when life has messed me up, I fought back. And this series has done exactly that. All of the previews and expectations of people saying, oh, this isn't going to work. This series is going to ruin Doctor Who forever. And in the end, Jodie Whittaker proved us wrong. And I'm so happy that Series 11 has actually impressed people of how this female Doctor can actually work. And yes, you can say that Jodie Whittaker and Series 11 has definitely proven me wrong. And so yes, that is the end of my long overview of Doctor Who Series 11. Please let me know what are your final thoughts of Doctor Who Series 11 in the comment section down below. I'm very interested to hear your opinions about this controversial series. Don't forget to like this video, and remember to please subscribe to my channel for more amazing Doctor Who content. Thanks to everyone who has supported me throughout 2018, making this year one hell of a year. It's been a blast making these videos for all of you. I'll probably do a Christmas merchandise showcase, but if I don't, I'll see you all of you in the new year. Be sure to join me for my live stream review of Resolution, and thanks again for everything this year. Until next time, take care of yourselves, Merry Christmas to all of you, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye!